Good evening, everybody. Look who I've got here. It's the wonderful Kerrie from Living in Loveliness. We are super excited to join you this evening. And I know there's going to be a lot of people watching. Hi, Kerrie, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm all right, actually. It's been a busy day for me. Has it been a busy day for you?
It certainly has. It certainly has. I've been counting down the time till 7, though, to spend some time with you all.
Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it? It's lovely so we can all get together. And I tell you what else is lovely, bringing the two groups of ladies and gents together. Because
it definitely is.
It probably wouldn't naturally happen very much. I don't know. I suppose it depends on whether my lot, them underneath, watch you on Sewing Street, and whether your lovely ladies would have caught me perhaps at a Chanda and Craft and at Create and Craft. So
well, we've certainly had lots of messages telling us how excited they are that we're joining together, and I know our paths haven't crossed previously, so this is very exciting for us as well.
Well, we've never met, have we? We've never met.
No, we've never met, which is very exciting, actually. You know, thank you very much for inviting me along and for getting in touch. So I feel very excited this evening. I feel like I'm blushing. I'm so excited.
Well, I'm a bit hot, but I think that's my age. You're far too young, so I've got plenty of excuses. It's so lovely to see you in your setup there. I just your backdrop is amazing. You've got some beautiful projects there. Are they sort of things that you've done recently, kits and bits and pieces?
Yeah, so some of the items behind me, these are projects that have featured recently, or certainly in the last 12 months, and I thought we'd make a real effort and bring along some of our favourite patterns, or certainly some of the ones that I've thoroughly enjoyed making. It's surprising, actually, when you're digging through to see just how many samples you've got, really, isn't it?
It can be quite frightening. I've never counted them, but I've got, I'm sort of overflowing in boxes in the garage and the second bedroom, and I'm sure you're the same, aren't you?
I just wonder if you have as many unfinished samples as I do.
Let's not talk about that.
That would definitely make me feel better if you have some boxes of to-dos.
Yeah, I don't have a box, but I do have heaps. And I thin them out, so it's not like one big heap, because obviously it would probably fill this whole space behind me. It's kind of dotted around, so it doesn't feel so much. But you've got a unit, haven't you, close to you?
We have, yeah. So it's very cold, actually, even though it's a lovely day today. It's incredibly cold in there. It is we have an industrial unit. I know you said, well, should we have a little look around? And I thought, no, I like everybody to think it's all lovely, where, to be completely honest, it's all chaotic.
But I mean, that's the joy of being in a unit. You can spread out, can't you? And it doesn't matter.
Definitely.
It doesn't matter.
Definitely.
So, according to rumours, and that's you and I talking the other day, which was yesterday, wasn't it? You've got 5 things you couldn't be without.
Yes.
Now, tell me more.
So when you said, let's fill it out with lovely collections, I thought, there's just certain things that I wouldn't be without. I realised today I really should have mentioned my stitch unpicker, considering I couldn't put my hand on it today. So I think I was having a little chuckle to myself, because I was like, there is 5 things all set out ready for this evening, but the most important thing is the stitch unpicker, and of course I needed that several times today.
Can I just say, mine is actually hot from overuse today, and I was only thinking, and it's just one of those projects that's just how it is, and I think I've taken it apart at least 5 times today. And
it's well loved, Lizzy. It's well loved.
Listen,
mine's well lost.
By the time somebody gets this project, I'm gonna give them the story about the quick unpick. But it is almost red hot. It's too much to handle, to be perfectly honest.
I think that makes us feel better, though, when we know everybody else still relies on theirs quite frequently, doesn't it?
Oh my goodness! Well, I was actually thinking just before we started this evening, I really ought to find a new one, because this one's getting blunt. I'm saying nothing about why it could be getting blunt.
It's well loved. It's not blunt, it's just well loved.
Okay then.
That's how I make it feel better for myself.
Yeah.
But yes, I thought I'll have a little look at amongst the things that I use daily for projects or have demonstrated and know that these are popular projects.
Yeah.
And my first one really is the rotating cutting mat. I would not be without this. And these are products that we stock as well.
Yeah.
But I just find, most of the projects that we do this year, we've launched three new quilts this year.
Wow.
So it is, I wouldn't be without it for quilting. But a lot of the projects that we design, my love really is in fat quarters. So I particularly like products that allow me to work with a fat quarter. So although we stock the 12 by 12 inch rotating cutting mat, I wouldn't be without my 18 by 18 inch cutting mat.
Oh, that's a good size. I've never seen that size before, Kerrie. That really is a good size.
The larger one.
Yeah, so why would you use the bigger one?
So what I particularly like about this, especially when you're making larger blocks, so last month we did quite a large block for a crowned with love quilt, and that meant using a lot of larger half square triangles.
Yeah.
But more importantly, going back to the smaller projects, so a lot of the projects that we design are fat quarter friendly.
Right.
And it is great really to be working with your fat quarters on here. I mean, your average fat quarter really is 20 by 22 inches. This is an 18 by 18 inch. And what I particularly love about it is instead of trying to figure out where I can position myself, especially as I mentioned, Unit 20 can be quite chaotic sometimes,
yes.
To relocate myself for everything, it just means that instead of moving myself around the table or physically moving the mat, I can bring this to myself and turn it back whenever I want to square up the fabric or square up that block. And the other benefit to this really is you've got the locking mechanism on the back, and this is what I love about the Crafter's Dream brand.
Yeah.
That if you're doing a project where you don't need that rotating cutting mat to rotate, you want it stationary, you have the option to pop the locking mechanisms on the back. So there is you'll hear two clicks.
Oh, that's good.
Click those and you can hear those. That means that your mat is staying in place, it's stationary for the particular project that you're working on.
Yeah.
So if you're leaning on this perhaps to do some doodling on there or some drawing for your free motion, you won't want that moving your pen. And it just is a really useful accessory to have in your cutting room. I mean, we've all got those larger spaces. And, when you're adding these to your collection, it's always worth thinking about the space that you work with and the size of the materials that you work with. And my passion really lies in either bringing fat quarters together, but in particular working with fat quarters. But we have it in both sizes. We do have the small and the large. The 12 by 12 inch is great for your smaller projects, maybe if you like working with scraps or smaller blocks as well. So we all like to get the most from the scraps.
I think we're kind of saying that both are a good idea.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I've got the smaller one, and actually, because you know what it's like, Kerrie, you start work and you have, I've got a really big desk, but I do end up with the proverbial 12-inch square or something along those lines. Yeah. So I think the big one would be great to sit there as almost like a permanent thing, because obviously it's got like a non-slip back to it.
It's non-slip, it's self-healing and it's non-slip as well. So
perfect to have actually as your almost like your everyday mat, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then the little one, like you've got it there on screen, you've got it sitting on the top, so you could bring it in when you perhaps got that smaller project, or you've been working so hard, your big 18 by 18 is actually covered with all your other bits and pieces around you.
And I think we were talking about your La La Land yesterday. If you're going out to events and you need to use a cutting mat, it's a nice, easy size to drop into your bag, maybe your machine bag, that will drop in there quite nicely as well.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Yes, ladies that are coming to La La Land, take heed that maybe a cutting mat might be a good idea. I don't know. It depends on how much much they're going to carry and certainly how much they're going to take away. I think that's probably more the important
more
thing.
to the point, what they're taking away.
Yes, lovely. So I can totally understand why that is one of your 5. So what's the next one, Kerrie?
So the next one, and then one of the main things that we focus on is producing and cutting kits. So we are cutting hundreds of meters of fabric each week, whether it's for projects that we're designing or whether it's for kits that we're producing. And so my second one would have to be the rotary blade sharpener.
Oh.
Now, there's several reasons why I like this.
Right.
Obviously to sharpen your blades, but if you're being environmentally friendly as well, you know, you haven't got to think about how to discard that blade from your rotary cutter because you can sharpen it each time.
Yeah. Now that's really handy, isn't it? It's really handy to have, that is.
Incredibly handy. And what's quite nice about it as well, I mean, we like to think that we don't leave pins in things, but sometimes we can leave pins. I know that's certainly happened at several of the workshops that I've run. It takes the nicks out of your rotary cutters as well.
Right.
So it will remove the tiny little nicks that perhaps you've got if you've got too close to your ruler or if you've caught a pin while you're cutting through your layers of fabric.
Oh, nothing worse. Oh my goodness me. It's a funny thing because today I knocked over my pot of used blades because I always save them thinking that I'm going to use them for papercraft, but as I don't do papercraft anymore, unlikely, but I have a little pot with them all in up high so the grandchildren can't get them, and today I knocked it off and all the blades went all over the floor, and plus the crockery. It was a lovely, actually it was a little vintage cup which I must try and replace. Such a shame. And I've never thought about renewing the blade, sort of sharpen the blade. I never thought about that, and that's such a good tip.
So your little pot, instead of thinking about how to discard those, you simply can take those off. Now this particular one will sharpen 2 size blades. You've got your 28mm on one side, and then you've got your 45mm, which is your standard rotary blade on the opposite side. So, you know, you mentioned papercraft. I often find that when we're at events, people prefer to work with 28mm or the smaller blade, and this will work with both sizes as well.
Oh, that's brilliant. I'm using the wrong keyboard here. I'm trying to put your link on my Facebook page. No wonder it's not going on. Wrong keyboard.
You're very technical, Lizzy. I'm very impressed.
I don't know about that. I did the wrong keyboard, so I don't know about being technical. But I think that is a terrific idea. So that is 2 different sizes of blades that you can sharpen there. That's amazing.
And it's incredibly easy to use as well. So, you know, mentioning today when, of course, you're picking up those blades, you don't want to come into contact with the, you know, the blade ends. You've got a nice little tail on the inside of here, which allows you to pick up and transfer the blade across onto your rotary blade sharpener. Once you've popped your blade on the end, would you like me to show you how quickly it is to work?
Yes, please. I'm intrigued.
So if we just take the screws and the back off the rotary blade sharpener, if I just drop these out of the way, just push that little part through there. There we go. Now I'm not coming into contact at all with that blade. We've got this little tail here, which will pick up the blade nice and easily. And then you're simply going to select the right size. So we're looking for the 45mm blade here, just dropping this on top. So that will naturally sit into position. Again, I'm still not coming into contact with the end of the blade. Right. Now, you've got 2 sides on the rotary blade sharpener. We're simply going to push this through. The side I can see here is the 45mm side. And here we've got 2 little black lines, which are very clear to see when you've got your rotary blade sharpener. If we keep the blade sharpener flat, so that's not going to tip out, line up those little black dots, pinch this together. You can run this, and I'm sure you can probably hear that.
Yes, I can.
You can run this across your hand, or you can roll it across your mat. Just 2 or 3 times on there, and that will sharpen your blade. So going back to reusing, and, you know, if you've got a little nick on there, maybe 4 or 5 times, and that will take the nick out as well.
I think that's...
Oh, sorry.
I think that's absolutely fantastic. So all my blades which fell on the floor, of which there must be 10 or 12 blades, I think they're going to get a new.
You're going to have a whale of a time.
Yeah, well, it's better than unpicking stuff that you want to now throw in the bin because you're so frustrated.
That's very true.
I think that.
So to pop it back
brilliant.
on, we're just using that magnet to transfer this across, and then just popping this back together, and you're ready to go. So you can see just how fast and easy this product is to work with. I love this. I wouldn't be without this, really. And it saves a lot of money on replacing them, more importantly.
Well, this day and age, that's exactly what we need, isn't it?
Definitely.
It's like a recycle thing, isn't it? Which is music to my ears, and I'm sure to everybody listening to you at the moment. So a definite must-have. I totally get why that is one of your top 5. I'm just surprised you haven't got
We'll get you one sent in the post, Lizzy, so you can have a fun afternoon sharpening your blades.
Nobody will ever see me again. The amount of sharpening I'm going to be doing, you can't believe it. Now the other thing which is actually very close to my heart, because you're talking about the heat erasable pen. Now quickly before I forget, all of this information that we're talking to everybody about now is actually on your blog, on your website, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
And there's information there about getting 10% off everything except subscriptions. So I forgot to tell you that right at the beginning, guys and gals, that everything we're talking about, Kerrie and I at the moment, if you go to Kerrie's website, which is Living in Loveliness, and I've put the link in there in the I think I put it in the event and another post as well earlier. If you go to the blog, everything is written in there in chronological order. Big word, I've had a little drink. You can squash. You can see all the products that we're talking about, because one of the things that Kerrie really was keen about was to tell everybody her top 5 favourites, and I don't blame you because we've all got them. But your number 3 on your top 5, Kerrie, is the heat erasable pen, which is fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, and I've just realised I brought this along to show you, and of course I haven't got an iron anywhere close to take it off. I did mention my glamorous assistant might be scurrying around in the background trying to keep up with all the things that I've forgotten about tonight. It's just so exciting, there's so many lovely things. But I just would not be without a friction pen. I'm not sure whether you use one yourself or whether you know, I just would not be without this. What I particularly love about this, not only is it really useful to mark up when you've got your turning gaps as a little reminder to yourself. I particularly like, I'm not very artistic, but I do love free motion. So I would always feel far more, a bit like having the sat nav on in the car. I always think of it like, actually, if I can doodle on the fabric, then it just gives me that confidence to sew along as a bit of a guide, having that free motion pen. Now, all you need to do if you've never used this is to just doodle on your fabric. Now, naturally, when we're working through our projects, we're pressing those at each stage anyway. So you're naturally going to remove that fabric using the heat just when you apply a little bit of heat with the iron. But you do also have almost like a little rubber on the end as well. So if you've gone wrong or you want to remove this, perhaps you've not pressed your project at the end and you want an easy way to get this off, you just simply giving that a little rub on your fabric, and again that will remove that little doodle on there as well. So that's something I would never ever be without, to be honest.
I suppose that's creating heat, isn't it, and friction. I suppose it is with that with the eraser on the end of the pen.
Absolutely. So it's just like you say, creating the friction on there. Naturally, it's easier to remove that using your iron, but it's definitely something that I wouldn't be without. I had this to hand today. It didn't help me with the unpicking, but I did have this to hand.
Lovely. Oh my goodness me! You know, I mean, these are the tools that we love, and certainly, I don't know about you, but when one starts to get a little bit dodgy when it's running out, it's like, really? I'm right in the middle of a project, and I'll do things like mark 1/4 of an inch in the corners if that's where I'm going to stitch to. Do that dot so I don't overshoot the runway, sort of thing.
I have to say that really helps me as well. Just having it there, because I think, especially when we're quite close to the end of a project, we get a bit excited and zoom off. So having that little reminder, whether it's a little dot or marking
Yes.
up on your bind, it is really very useful indeed.
Yes, or you have great intentions of knowing full well where you're going to stop, but then you've got the wrong bit on the wrong side facing you, and you've got to keep peering underneath. It's just so much easier to have done your dot. And
Absolutely.
you know it's going to come out. But I love your idea of the free motion as well, because I mean that really lends itself to some. Yeah, it takes away the fear, doesn't it? Don't you think?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So one of the projects, I'll show you actually, I wasn't going to show this yet, but one of the projects that we did last month, for example, was this free motion wall hanging.
Oh, it's lovely.
Now, what I did on here, as I mentioned, I'm not particularly confident with knowing exactly where to go with the free motion. So if you're new to this, it just gives you that confidence. So in the tutorial and in the step-by-step, we just use the friction pen to draw on these additional lines here to really make that project pop. And of course, once we give that a little press, once we've finished the project, nobody knows. I almost feel like it's a little bit of a cheat. I like anything that makes me feel like I'm cheating. But I
That's
always, about as naughty as it gets.
But I always think, you know, in days gone by, in years gone by, if people could have had those tools, you know, even in the Victorian times when they're doing all that beautiful, exquisite hand embroidery, they would have used them. You know, I know you're saying it's cheating, but it's not, is it? It's a tool to aid you to become super duper
it's so
what you're
very
doing.
true. And I had this conversation with my daughter the other day. I was watching Bridgerton, and when they were mentioning about the qualities of this lady, they said, "Oh, she's very good at sewing." And I said to my daughter, "That would be what they would say about me back in that day." And she said, "Mom, but you use a pen to draw and everything, you cheat." I was like, but I would have thought I was even better then. This is my little handy tool. It would have got me wed.
Exactly, and like you say, you can draw to your heart's content, stitch, and with free motion you've got that lovely free reign of that lovely sort of organic way of stitching, and it doesn't matter whether you follow the line, but you got a good idea of where you're heading. And I think that's the main thing, isn't it? With free motion, I'm looking at my machine thinking it's going to do it.
Because you want to have a go.
Yeah, because you can see where you start, you can see where you end, because you're following roughly that line. It just makes everything so much easier, doesn't it?
Definitely. And I just, as we've said, I wouldn't be without mine.
So number 5 on your hit list. Yeah, I feel like we're doing the, the top 10. You know, the top of the pops. That top of the pops. You're probably far too young to remember top of the pops.
Oh no, I remember top of the pops. I remember top of the pops.
Somebody said to, didn't say to me. Somebody was saying on TV, I think the other day, that they used to wait for it to come up on the radio at the top 20, and I think it was 6 o'clock. I can't remember. Somebody might put me right. And I did exactly the same as this person, and they used to put their cassette player.
Oh, and record it.
Yes.
My sister always talks, and I said, "Stop talking." At the end of each one, you always hear me go, "Stop talking," and then I press it. But you don't want to delete that bit, because that was the best bit at the end of the song.
That's right. But also the trick was always to stop recording right at the end, before the fella said something else, because they always filled in, didn't they, between each record? And you stop quick and then restart and record it. Those were the days, Kerrie. And like I say, you're far too young to have any idea what I'm talking about. So, and actually I've got a story. The next product we're going to look at is the microstitch.
It's that orange juice, Lizzy.
I didn't tell you I put a glug of sherry in it. No, I didn't. Is the microstitch, the Avery and Dennison microstitch. Now, years and years ago, and I'm talking, it must be 30 years ago, I did a quilt, which is still unfinished. It's in a heap.
It's in your heap.
And actually, I used the microstitch to quilt the layers together. And idiot that I am, I started hand stitching it. And of course, because I'm hand stitching, it's never going to get done. But I use the microstitch, and those, they are still in the quilt. We're talking 30 years, so I would say it's an investment because it lasts. It stands the test of time and several house moves, let me tell you. The only complaints I ever had using the microstitch were from the grandchildren who sat on it as a picnic blanket and got like scratches on their little bottoms from the microstitches because Grandma still hasn't finished it, but it still held the whole quilt together. So talk to us about your interpretation of why you like the microstitch, Kerrie.
So to be honest, I like anything that makes, I mean, the enjoyment is really in the sewing, isn't it?
Yes.
And anything that we can do to get us faster into that sewing is a little tool and gadget that I like. Yeah. Now, these are great if you're making a larger quilt. The little tacks that you have in the microstitch gun, they're really only 1/4 of an inch, so they'll keep that quilt sandwich nice and close together, whether it's a small project or whether it's a large quilt project. And the reason that I started using this is we sew a lot of quilts for charity. Oh. Now, I really like working with 505, spray a little bit of 505, secure it into place, and that's the easiest option. Yeah. But because the quilts that we were making for charity, we really didn't want to use anything other than the natural products on there, so avoiding working with the temporary adhesive spray. It was really then that we started using the microstitch gun. And what we would do is have a whole day of sewing, round up as many people as we can, sew these lovely quilts, and just somebody would be going along as fast as they could, sort of yes. keeping them together. It's really nice and speedy.
It is. It is.
So I like the microstitch gun for that. It's incredibly easy to use. Now, one of the questions I get asked quite a lot about this, because we'll demonstrate this, and certainly at exhibitions, I think as we've become more environmentally friendly, the question that we find that comes up very frequently is they're plastic. Yes. How yes. do we, is there an alternative option that isn't plastic? And to my knowledge, there isn't. But the way I find what I do to remove these, of course I'll take these out, is I'll just pop the little plastic tacks inside a milk carton, and I know that that's going to be recycled anyway. So I know that the plastic bits that come out, I mean, they really are super tiny, but yes. when we're being environmentally friendly, we want to make sure that they're recycled correctly. Yeah. So just pop those into your little plastic box. I know that's something that's come up quite a lot recently.
I can understand
so I just
that.
drop them in there and it recycles them. But it's so incredibly easy to use. The little starter kit that we've got has got your tacks in there. Incredibly easy to work. So you're simply just dropping this in. That slots in there very easily. Yeah. Now, I thought we limited space this evening. I've just got a little project that I'm working on just to show you. Lovely. So this is a little bit of a quilt sandwich. We've got the backing layer. We've got the extra bit of fabric there. That'll go in the stash.
That's from my unpicker earlier.
It could be from either of us, couldn't it? And then your project on the top. And you're simply just following this along. It pushes through. It's got a lovely sharp needle, which with lots of use can be replaced as well. That's what I like about it. You can replace that needle. Yeah. And it does have a little rubber cover on there to protect it as well. And you're simply just pushing this through.
Oh, I love
that. And again, it's really nice and speedy to work through those layers to secure those stitches into place as well, allowing that to stay nice and close together when you get to do the fun bit, which is the free motion or your quilting, or even if you want to do some hand sewing on there as well. It takes out the time that we take perhaps to pop a basting stitch in there. So that's why I really like working with that project.
And the other thing is, of course, you don't have to be using your adhesive sprays, which perhaps some people would think is bad for the environment. Maybe, I don't know. Let's not go down kind of the eco route, although I know it's important. But actually, it does take it away, take that away of replacing your cans of sprays. Yeah. And also, it's great fun. I mean, I was wanting to, when you're a kid and you want to be in the post office doing the mail, like that. Well, it's a similar thing, isn't it? Because it gives you great satisfaction of going through all those layers. And like you say, that the point on the end of it, it is sharp. So, you know, be sensible, guys. But it's going to do that job of putting that stitch through. I love your idea of popping it into an empty milk carton, or the little bits as you take them out. But
it's funny, really, because I think I was naturally doing that without thinking about it. And just I think we just get into the rhythm of doing things like that. But it's certainly when we've just done 2 exhibitions, and that came up quite a lot. And several ladies were saying, "Oh, I don't use it anymore for this reason." And when I mentioned, you know, just pop it into your milk carton, and they're like, "Oh, I'll get it back out now. I didn't think about that." So it's just little hints and tips that help us sometimes, isn't it?
Totally. And sometimes we just need that reassurance that actually it's okay, because we're going to, like you say, I mean, and also we still have to stress that they are the longevity of it is incredible, because my microstitch, I'm trying to think, I mean, I'm 65, so we're going back perhaps, I would say 35 years that I started making this quilt. It's very nice, Kerrie. I just need to finish it.
You'll have to share us a photo, and we'll have to encourage you. But I'm not sending you my photo of my heap. No. I'm trying to make it sound lovely that it was all organised. It's not. It's a heap as well. And I feel like I've been given permission to say that now.
Yes, of course. And this is confession time, Kerrie, so whatever you want to tell us, feel free. But yeah, so this part of my room that you can see behind me is lovely. It's always like this. I place things. This is our new, that's our new Children in Need bear pattern that we're selling for Children in Need, and a couple of new projects, and my grandson's duck. I don't know why. And so this bit is lovely. It's just, I daren't ever turn the camera around. People would faint in shock. Oh no, let's not look.
I dropped the camera once on a live, and I'm sure if any of my ladies are live, they'll say, "Yeah, it's okay." And my sister was watching, and she phoned me. I mean, our husband will say, "Oh, we hate it when you get together. You just cackle and you don't say anything." Yes. And she phoned, and she was doing her roaring of laughter, trying to tell me, and she said, "I saw your mop bucket," and it just every time I saw her, Brady, she was like, "Are you embarrassed? Everybody saw you mop bucket." I was like, I was a bit, but at least I know I clean as well as do some sewing.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, okay,
but I was mortified in case it went the other way.
Yes, lovely. And I think, do you know what? It does us good to actually admit that, you know, we're as human as everybody else. Like, I've been red hot with my unpicker today, and so on and so forth. So I think, you know, it just makes us just normal like everybody else. It's just that we just talk a lot, Kerrie. And that's what I say.
You did make me laugh yesterday when you said, "Oh, Kerrie, you do a lot of talking." I thought, gosh, and we haven't met, and you know this already. We had, 20 minutes together yesterday?
Well, I've done a wee bit of research. I thought I should make an effort, you know. So, right, so I think that was number 4, Kerrie, on your list of favourite products. So we ought to really now go along. And now this is interesting. This is the am I right in saying this is the Quilted Bear cut and design template stroke ruler?
It is, yeah.
That looks interesting.
And I thought I would bring this. Now, this is one of the products that I demonstrated when we were in Exeter just last month. And they're, you know, again, we love anything that makes life easy. And I mean, I particularly love cutting. We wouldn't cut as many kits if we didn't. But I know from running a lot of classes over the years, it's that, you know, when you first start cutting and you've been and bought your favourite fabrics, it's a little bit scary to cut into them.
Yes.
And I think this particular ruler, you know, or similar rulers of this nature, you know, it just gives us the confidence. We can see those numbers nice and clear. Yeah. Now, this one has got non-slip dots, and they're highlighted as well. So your numbers here are super clear.
Right.
They're highlighted in a lovely purple, which I think is really lovely.
Yes.
And it just makes it super easy. So the quilt that you can see just behind me here, this was our Summer Breeze quilt. We launched that one last month. And I wanted a product really that made it a nice, easy project. I like anything that looks like it might be complicated, but when you break the steps down, actually it's super easy to make. And this ruler really helped there, because it really is just 2.5-inch strips sewn together and then subcut to make it, you know, look like we've done a lot of piecing with the 2.5-inch strips. So you've got your measurements on here, and this is designed so we just pop this onto the fabric. The numbers are clearly marked for us. Absolutely fantastic for your, you know, even if you wanted to go ahead and do some 2.5-inch squares. I'll show you just how easy that is to cut using the mat and the ruler that we've got in front of us. So we're just simply resting this onto the fabric. Now, I don't like wasting any fabric at all. I try and get away with as least waste as possible. And then I still put it in a scrap bucket for something else later, at a later stage. So because the ruler's nice and large, we can rest this onto the fabric. You've got these little, they look like a little teardrop just at the bottom and at the top as well, which is where we're going to insert our rotary blade.
All right.
And now I've got my fabric folded in half, but you know, when you've got a nice sharp blade, you can easily cut through several layers of fabric as well. So if you're trying to finish a quilt and add the binding to finish it off, this will make the cutting super speedy. So we're just slotting this onto the fabric. The 0 line again is highlighted with those little non-slip dots. Yeah. And I'm just slightly overhanging that 0 line there, resting the rotary cutter inside, just cutting along. And if I want to do some binding strips here, I'm going to cut on the 2.5-inch and the 5.5-inch. So very easily we can see through. Let's just do that again. Let me just spin that around. Might help if I actually push the blade in. Let's try that one more time.
I can always talk if you need to regroup there, Kerrie, as you've discovered.
That's it. I can hear it cutting now. It's just because I find it a little bit easier to cut at an angle, actually.
And do you find it easier? Do you find it easier to stand up when you're cutting?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm the same.
So just showing you those there. We've got those nice 2-inch strips, and as I mentioned, that selvage edge, we've really only cut off a slither of that because I've got a little raw edge here. Yeah. And then we've got your 2.5-inch strips. And more importantly, you know, we're not wasting any of those fabrics.
That's beautiful.
Now, just going back to the rotating cutting mat, if we want to cut these and not disturb the fabric, we can simply, instead of, let me just make sure you can see me. Yeah. Instead of moving myself, we're just simply slotting that back onto the rotating cutting mat there. I will just twist that to the side. I do find that much easier, I have to admit. Yes. And then we're just slotting that into position, and then cutting along again on that 2.5-inch line there.
That's great. That looks great. Yeah, we can see you clearly. Just looking at the comments here, Yvonne says she's got all 5. Now, what does that mean? All 5. All 5. Oh, all 5 products. Is that right, Yvonne? Oh my goodness, let me know if you've got, goodness me. Oh, hold on, because I want some. Oh my goodness me. Angela says she might have to invest in the ruler. Please do, because I've got one very similar and they are very handy. In fact, I had mine out today. Jean says the ruler is good as it allows you to make your own design strips. We better not say jelly roll because that's Moda. Jeanette says, just been to the website. Thank you, Kerrie, for the code. Great saving. Fantastic.
I can see there Liz said we can't see what's being done. I'm afraid I'm not as technical as Liz with all them cameras, and you know, I'm just I'm trying to choose my words carefully. Listen, and you said very easy.
We can see.
But all I've done there is just place that back on and just cut these down into 2.5-inch strips as well.
We could see you doing that, Kerrie. I think it's just we couldn't see you come off the end, but we know that there's an end point, and we knew you were cutting through the fabric, so you mustn't worry. We've got people here from Ireland, from Dromore, that's Veronica. We've got somebody here from Hertfordshire watching us, Sandra from County Durham. We've got Kath, who's my proofreader, and she's lovely. I'm never going to let her leave me ever in the whole world. Kath saying lovely to see you both. Carol's come from Norfolk as well. Somebody also said there was 2 people, Kerrie, that said they had never seen the microstitch. Now that's interesting because when you consider obviously how many years I said that I'd had mine. In fact, I've got 2 because my daughter borrowed the original one and broke it, and then we mended it, so that was fine. So they can be mended. Good point. So that was interesting that you showed everybody how that worked, because I particularly love it because it's so quick.
Yeah.
And you don't have to use sprays, which some people I think would find that very interesting. So Leslie says a great tool if you're quilting. So all of these things here. Diana says, I love my micro stitch, would thoroughly recommend it. It was Jean that said, never heard of this item before, Kerrie / Lizzy. So let's have a look. The other one is, Leslie says, I did a sewing day for one of Kerrie's charity quilt events. Great fun. That's lovely, isn't it? Really lovely to hear. Now, if I just pop onto YouTube and let's see what's happening on YouTube, because we've got a few people watching there. I've put the links in there as well. We've got Rose from South Florida. That's fantastic. We've got Charmaine from South Africa. Welcome. We've got Nicola on there, who's one of my admin. She just keeps everybody under control. She's brilliant. She's never going to leave me either. We've got Joan from Vancouver Island in Canada. We've got Monica from Pennsylvania. I think on YouTube we tend to have a wider audience of that. Jackie says, I use the large rotating mat all the time. I have the smaller one too now. That's fantastic. And there we are. So everybody's saying hello and welcome, Kerrie. So isn't that fantastic? Really, really lovely to see everybody, especially on YouTube as well. It's just lovely to see everybody taking part. So that is your 5. That is your 5.
That's 5.
So don't forget, guys and gals, if you go to Kerrie's website, which is livinginloveliness.com, and you hop along to the far right, it says blog, and click on that, because that will give you all of the products that we've talked about tonight, which kind of leads us on quite nicely to kits, because that was something else that we thought we should talk about. And I don't know what order you want to do these kits in. Do you want to do the most popular one first, Kerrie.
Do the most popular one?
Yes.
Okay, so the most popular one that we've got at the moment is the thread catcher. So we launched this on Sewing Street back in January, and what we found when we went along to the events is that people were coming to find us to actually buy one of the kits. So that's why I thought I'd bring this along. And I certainly made great use of this today. It's
you and me both.
It really should have a little. I feel like I need to edit the pattern there and have a little section in there. It's got a section for the scissors, but I think it needs one for my stitch unpicker now.
Yes.
Now I'm saying how wonderful this product is. It doesn't have a stitch unpicker pocket. That was eventful, wasn't it?
I like it. Well, you see, that's your new pattern now.
So this particular one, now we do have the kits and just the pattern available for this one. You have got this little pod, so I've used some Bosal foam in here. I love working with Bosal. Yeah. And this gives that some lovely structure to the little pod. And actually, for Easter coming up as well, you could just make the pods on their own. They look really sweet in the bathroom with your your makeup remover, your accessories in there, or great in your sewing room as well. But this has been designed, so we've got walnut shells in the top here, so this gives this a great weight. Yeah. So when you just want to position this on the side, we'll use this as the side of our desk, making that more difficult than it needs to be. You've got the weight in there that secures this into position, so this just rests nicely at the side of your sewing machine. Now, we did pop some hook and loop on the top there as well, so it has got the detachable pin cushion. Right. Again, we've used the crushed walnut shells in there, and we've got a little bit of reverse applique, but a nice sizable pin cushion.
It's very pretty.
I just quite like, pardon?
It's very pretty.
Very pretty indeed. So it's one of my favourite things, actually. One of the things that I love designing projects, but in particular I like making my life easier and therefore, sharing the patterns. So if it makes life easy, this just rests all the time at the side of the table, somewhere to put the threads. They don't always go in there, I'm not going to lie. The dog will often come along and pull on one and get tangled up and all sorts, But it rests just at the side of you. So that's one of the kits that has been our most popular kit. It was certainly the one that people came to find us at the events recently.
We've added some nice little
Pardon?
I can understand that because it's lovely. And so in your kits, what do you get? Do you just get the pattern and the fabric, or?
No, so one of the things that we really enjoy doing is making sure, now we've produced lots of kits in the past where they've been just fat quarters and your pattern.
Yeah.
In fact, we ran for 2 years a fabulously fast fat quarter fun. So that was 22 issues showing you how to get 3 patterns from 3 projects, from 4 fat quarters, and this was one of the patterns that featured in there.
Right.
And what we've done in 2022 is selected some of the most popular ones and then broken those down into individual kits. So you actually get everything excluding the weight. So you might want to put, you might want to put some crushed walnut shells in there. So you will need those in addition. But that particular kit includes your Bosal foam, and then it includes 2 Liberty fat quarters.
Ooh, Liberty.
There's different options on the website. I love the brights. In fact, this was one of my favourite Liberties.
Yes.
I've got a lovely dress in this one. And it even includes the thread and the stuffing as well. So we did pop some stuffing into the kit. So if you want to, if you want to put stuffing into the pin cushion, there's a bag of stuffing that comes in with that kit as well. And just brilliant. On here with that reverse applique, that's where we've used that embroidery thread. So we like coordinating things and making sure that when this arrives, you've got everything you need to make it.
And I suppose if you didn't want to use walnut shells, there's so many other things you can use, isn't there?
Yeah.
So
absolutely,
whatever suits you, I would say, because
absolutely.
I don't particularly like foodstuffs. I don't like rice, recycled plastic pellets, because I know plastic is not sort of trendy, but actually if you're going to use...
The pellets are perfect in there, and it's a great weight. So, you could just put that into the little part here, the base, and even just have the stuffing on the top if you wanted to.
Yeah.
This was, because this one was so popular, what we actually did with this kit is we put a private Facebook group together, and on 2 consecutive Fridays in January, we did a live sew-along. So in with this kit.
Lovely.
You get a QR code which links you into that Facebook page if you want to find the tutorial, and you can go just scan it onto your phone, and you can go into that group and watch those lives back if you like to have the tutorial to complement your patterns as well.
That's lovely, because there's nothing quite like watching somebody make it up. Even though you got the gist of it, you probably can follow. Well, you easily follow the pattern, but I know that sometimes we don't read things the same way. When we write a pattern, and same as you, I'm sure you read it a gazillion times, and it doesn't make any sense anymore. So if you're trying to sort of make it more simple to read, you can't, because you become word blind after a time, and that's that's when we pass it on to other folk to have a look at perhaps. But when you've got a video, you can keep replaying that over and over again, can't you, and stop it just on that little bit there where you thought, oh, that's how it goes. Couldn't quite catch it right in the pattern, but visually you've got it, haven't you? So that's so useful, Kerrie. So that is a Facebook group just pertinent to that pattern for making up the thread catcher there.
The thread catcher and pin cushion.
Oh, lovely. So that's even better, isn't it? And very exclusive. I love it. So moving on from there, what was your next kit? Because like I said, I know you have a few that you wanted to talk about.
So the next kit that I've chosen to show you this evening, so in January this year, we decided to take a break from Fabulously Fast Fat Quarter Fun. We'd run this for sort of 22 months. And what we were finding is that members were saying, there's lots of patterns in there, but the one pattern that was missing, we got all of these storage ideas and organisation solutions, but we didn't have anywhere to put our patterns into a folder or a pretty folder.
Right.
So that was the last pattern that we launched. In fact, we launched 2 different patterns to complement each other. Yeah. And this is just a sewing pattern, almost like a little bit of a briefcase, really.
It's lovely.
You've got that secured into position there. We've got some nice quilting on it. And then this is secured by some hook and loop. This is my working one, actually. It's got zips and all sorts. Pound as well. Some money in there. What a bonus. I don't know when I'm needing that. But
Go and buy yourself a new thread on picker. Stitch on. I can't get my words out now.
And I love working with vinyl. You know, I've created so many patterns that have pockets, and I managed to lose things. So I did put a nice clear vinyl pocket in the front of this one that's just secured with a little zip there. So whatever you want to get your hands onto is nice and easy to see.
Yeah, fantastic.
And then at the back of the folder, we've just got, now I really like highlighters. I'm super old school. I like doodling and highlighting things. In fact, I'll quite often have things to my to-do list that I naturally do to make me feel like I've achieved something. It's been a long day.
Yes.
So I've always got a highlighter to hand. And then just on the inside, again, secured just by some hook and loop, we've got an additional 3 pockets in there, whether you just want to keep your sewing accessories nice and safe. And then the
lovely.
extra little bonus pattern that we popped in with this, I'll take this out actually, it's just a clear vinyl pocket here. It's got an extra little pocket there on the front.
Right.
So that allows you to put your pattern in and easily accessible.
Yeah.
And then what we find with a lot of the patterns is there's so many templates. We create templates for every pattern that we produce. So I've just again popped some hook and loop on there, so when you're putting your little pieces inside, you can just close this off and know that you're not going to lose any of your little patterns in there. So that hook and loop runs the full length of that pocket as well, and you can make as many or as few of these, or you could keep it really simple and you could just use your normal folder pockets for your patterns to organise those if you wanted to as well.
So Anne is saying, do you sell a kit for the pattern folder, Kerrie? Well, I think that's what you're telling us, isn't it?
Yeah, so the pattern folder, we've linked that into the blog as well to make that easy. We've actually got two kit options. We've got one for the folder. So as I mentioned a little while ago, we do like to make sure you've got everything that you need to make the patterns. I absolutely love Liberty fabrics. So this one has some Liberty fabrics in there. You've got your batting, you've got your clear vinyl, you've got your zip, you've got a metre of the hook and loop, and even your thread as well. We've got the interfacing and the white on white. So everything that you're going to need to make the folder.
That's so pretty. I love that purple option.
Pardon?
I love that purple option. It's beautiful.
Lovely, isn't it? It's Liberty gorgeous. And then we've made a second option as well. So if you did want to make the little vinyl pockets to go with them, that's with your 2 fat quarters, your hook and loop, a metre of the vinyl, and I've used the hemline eyelets in there as well, just to put those little hooks onto there.
That's fantastic, because actually the using the eyelets might be something new that nobody's done before. So I like that, at least having one perhaps new technique or something that we don't do very often, and using the eyelets is a great idea. So what I've done, Kerrie, is I've shared the link to Facebook and YouTube. So for the likes of Anne, if you wanted to treat yourself, Anne, then the link is there. I just posted it for you, and it's the full kit, the full Monty, as they say. So go and fill your boots, and don't forget we've got 10% off. All right, it's the royal we.
It's Lovely Lizzy. The code is Lovely Lizzy, so it's very much a we. It's a joint project.
So if you put Lovely Liz. Lovely Liz.
Oh, you've looking.
It's that Sherry. Lovely Liz, in the promo code, I'm assuming yours is a promo code, Kerrie, and mine is, and at the checkout, then you'll get that 10% off. So it's definitely worth doing that. And that's lasting for, what did you say, Easter Sunday?
Easter Sunday, so 17th of April.
And
I had to check that today.
Did you? It's a bit late this year, isn't it, I think? Yeah.
I feel like we're moving very quickly through the year.
I'm still at Christmas.
Indeed.
I am still at Christmas, thinking I really should take my decks down. I have taken my decks down, but my brain is still way back there. Yeah, there's no hope. Abigail, my daughter, has just joined us to say what gorgeous designs and fabric. Thank you, Abigail.
Hi, Abigail.
She's been doing a workshop this evening. She's got a workshop, I think it's 4 or 5 parts, might be the last part tonight, where they're all making a coat, a patchwork coat. Oh, it's beautiful. Actually, the one she's making is for me. So I hope she hasn't rushed it tonight. Thank you, Abigail. Just checking.
She might have some homework.
Yeah.
She wanted to come and join us tonight. But how lovely that you're having a coat made for you. My daughter doesn't make me coats.
Well, it's she wanted to do the workshop, and so she made one for herself. It's beautiful, and she did some flying geese on it, and it's just lovely. And I'm like, yeah, that's nice. Like that. And she said, all right, Mum, I'll make yours in the workshop. Result.
That's all it takes for you to hint, nudge, nudge. I might try that.
Yes, actually, I didn't even have to do that. I just look at her like Paddington Bear hard stare. Yes, it's fine. Right, so have we got another? Did you want to talk about the brooch kit, Kerrie?
Yes, we can do. So last month was fabulous, actually, because I was set a challenge to come up with as many different sort of patterns and kits for the Jubilee, which was wonderful.
Oh, super.
And I just couldn't imagine having a celebration when we don't have a brooch, to be honest. And we've made things, I do love an in-depth project that takes some time, perhaps like Abigail's coat, but it's quite nice to have something that you can wear or gift.
Yes.
And that's really nice and fast and easy to make. So this is the fabric brooch kit. This is one of our smaller kits. Again, everything comes with this, your printed templates. We've got your step-by-step instructions. So my children tell me off a lot. I like taking a lot of photos. So our instructions feature the full written step-by-step and lots of close-up photos.
Oh, it's so fabulous.
And this includes... it's just so pretty, isn't it? It's got that gorgeous platinum. Again, Liberty, I love working with Liberty, and a lot of the kits that we've produced have got those lovely designer fabrics in there. And then we chose, I didn't go for traditional Jubilee, the red, white and blue. I wanted to select the platinum and the purples. It was just so wonderful to see the new launches from Emily Bell.
Oh,
so this is featuring...
Yeah, that's lovely.
3 different fabrics from Emily Bell and the Winterbourne collection as well. And in this kit, again, you get everything you need inside your little goodie bag there. It's like a sweetie shop, isn't it? I was wanting to work in a sweet shop. You were saying about your stamping.
Yes.
Mine was a sweet shop and a chip shop. That's why I wrap all the kits and make all the little bags.
Oh, of course. Wonderful. Chip shop sounds good.
But it has everything in there. A little piece. You can always make a little fabric covered button. You get your little brooch back and your felt just for the back. So again, it's another kit that's got everything that you need. A nice evening in front of the TV with a glass of orange juice, little simple of cherry, and a little bit of hand sewing, and we're well away.
You know too much about me now. There's somebody on Facebook. Let me just go back to the comments. I'll just keep you hanging there for a while I look at the comments, because somebody said they're making it as you speak. So let me just see.
Lovely.
Can you see it? Here we go. I love the brooch. I so need to make this for the Jubilee. I've made Julia says she's made the Jubilee wreath behind Kerrie, and it's fabulous. I would imagine that's what she's saying. And Jean said looking forward to seeing it. So yeah, it's just fabulous, isn't it, that everybody's either seen it before, or they're trying to make it, or perhaps they've been inspired to visit your website tonight, Kerrie, and treat themselves to something, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day, isn't it? Just perhaps every now and again treating ourselves to something. I mean, gosh, life's a bit hard sometimes, isn't it? Especially at the moment. Yeah. So a little treat wouldn't come amiss. And I promise I won't tell anybody. Promise. So, because I daren't tell people about what I've got. I daren't.
As long as it makes you happy, that's all I say. If it makes you happy, then, and if you're thinking about it, then it's definitely a signal to say that we must do it.
Yeah,
but I'm not very good at sitting still. I like doing something all the time. I drive my husband Craig insane because I just cannot sit still. And little projects like this are just so fast and easy.
Yes.
And satisfying to make, because they're just really pretty.
Yes.
And it's a nice gift as well. I mean, you could just put that on the simplest of tote bags.
Yes.
And it just looks like it's got a lot more to it, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I've got a handmade flower that I did ages ago that's on my current bag. You know what it's like. My favourite pattern actually, and I take that around with me everywhere, and I get complimented on a lot, just the whole thing, the bag and the handmade brooch on there as well. And do you know what, it's really lovely to get a compliment, and we have to be humble and start sort of saying thank you. Because sometimes it's nothing. But actually, you know, you've put a lot of love and time in these things. And when somebody compliments you and says, what a wonderful brooch, where did you buy it? That's the secret. And then you say, well, actually, I made it.
It's so satisfying to say that, isn't it?
Well, it is.
It really is. It just gives you that instant, you know, it makes your day happy. But you know, going on from what you said, I think that's the reason that I love doing what we do, because, you know, naturally, whether it's online, and I love the online community that we've built, you know, over the last few years, especially through lockdown, but as well being in classes, you can't go a whole class or a whole live without saying something nice. Oh, that's a lovely fabric, or that's beautiful what you've made. And I think the older we get, we're not around that really, are we? Somebody always wants something, somebody's always following us up for something. So just that little, like, oh, your fabric choice is beautiful, or your, you know, whatever it is nice. It's just a wonderful environment to be in, and it's good for everybody, isn't it?
It's good for everybody's souls, and that's why we do it. That's why we get together. That's why now when we can go to workshops, and I know you do workshops, don't you, Kerrie?
We do, yes. Yeah, we run workshops and retreats. Yeah,
fantastic. So do you do that at the unit, or do you go somewhere glamorous?
We go glamorous. The unit is not. In fact, if you visit us at the unit, I'll probably rope you into cutting, wrapping, tidying up, or making a cup of tea. So never visit us there.
Well, I've heard about your mop and bucket, so I'll be on mop and bucket duties.
But we run our retreats in a hotel. We have the morning sewing, and then we enjoy afternoon tea, and then we go back to sewing, usually a little bit slower because we've eaten a lot of cake.
Yes, can't move.
So we get the bulk done in the morning, because I know myself, I'm like, oh, there's far too many lovely cakes, I must try all of them.
Yes, of course.
We tend to be a little slower in the afternoon.
No, I totally get that. Now, the other thing that I really, really, really wanted you to talk about, because we're past the hour, so we've got 5 or 10 minutes, I would imagine, to talk to us about your subscriptions, Kerrie, because you do quite a few, don't you? Which ones would you like to talk to us about?
So I'll talk about the So Happy Sewing subscription. So this was launched in January this year. We'd run Sewing with Scraps. I love finding different ways for you to use up your scraps. We ran that for a time in 2021, and then we ran the Fastback Quarter Fun, and the feedback, I love listening to feedback from members, seeing, you know, what they like, what they enjoy the most. And the feedback that we were getting really was, you know, if you'd had a couple, because there was 3 projects each month, if you'd had a couple of months where life got in the way, it was quite overwhelming, thinking, oh gosh, I'm behind 6 projects, or I just feel overwhelmed with the amount of things that we're doing. And then the other feedback that we had is, oh, I needed a brooch to go with it, or I needed a button, so I couldn't finish that project. So we took that on board, and in January 2022, we launched our So Happy Sewing subscription.
Right.
And we started this with a project that I really wanted myself. So we do a theme, and sort of last year I kept thinking, I'm going to make myself one of those, never got around to it. So we theme it each month. The month of January, I think just, you know, after Christmas, I felt it was important that we had some time for ourselves. So we launched our Grace cosmetic bag. Now, what's different about this subscription to our Fastback Quarter Fun subscription, as always, you get your step-by-step instructions, you've got your full pattern and your photos. We have the full-size A3 templates. That's what can be found in each of our patterns. But we wanted to make life even easier. So if life was getting in the way, but you managed to find on one afternoon that you'd got a little bit of time to yourself, instead of having to trawl through social media, we do a lot of lives on Facebook or YouTube, or when we demonstrated them on Sewing Street, we actually added a QR code to the bottom of those patterns.
That's really handy.
So we've got the link on there as well. that takes you straight through to the YouTube tutorial, or we've got the QR code. So when you can fit the project into your life, it was designed that everything was there. So this is an example of one of the Grace Cosmetic kits. Love working with cork. I just absolutely love working with cork. So you've got your lining fabric, you've got your heavyweight fusible interfacing, got your cork, and I just can never decide which fabric. So for this project, I decided to go for 2. So we've got a different one on the front and the back. And what's really useful about this, I mean, I designed this as a cosmetic bag so you can pop your makeup brushes in, but generally everything tends to turn into an organisation for the sewing room. So you've got those extra pockets on here as well for your cosmetic bag, making that easily accessible instead of having to root through the bottom.
That's such a great idea, really great idea.
And your zip as well. So that was our January project. Our February was all about the month of love. So we had the Amelia cushion. So this is a 12 by 12 inch cushion. We've got that quilt as you go on the front. Always trying to encourage people to use those lovely decorative stitches on their sewing machines, and just really taking advantage of the lovely threads that we have in our stash. So this particular project, this was all about your quilt as you go, nice and easy, using those decorative stitches and your piping on here as well. So you've got some lovely techniques to learn. So each month we introduce a new project, but bring along a new technique as well.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, I love that. And like I said earlier, it's always great to bring in a technique that perhaps we've not forgotten about, but we haven't used for ages, and a lot of people haven't done it before. So that's a fantastic way. So that's Amelia. Have you got another one?
So the other one was the one I showed you a little bit earlier. So this was the daffodil wall hanging. This was our project for March. Yeah. So in here we've got the binding. Right. And then, of course, we've got the free motion. Now, in this particular pattern, we did some practice panels as well. So you've got your free close-up pre-recorded tutorial showing you how to, different hints and techniques in here, everything from your free motion to hanging this on your doweling, and some nice close-ups of your binding as well. So again, revisiting some of those, simpler techniques like the binding, but having a little doodle, and going back to what we mentioned about that free motion pen, looking at accessories and notions that are available to us to make life easier, to produce something really pretty.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? You start off with the basics of your top 5, if you like, and then you sort of bringing in the kits that you're offering there, the subscriptions. Absolutely fantastic. Somebody is asking, are you going to be doing a retreat soon?
We're actually due to move locations, so I'm not sure. In fact, because we're actually going to look at a new venue tomorrow. Haven't told Craig this. He might frown at me in a minute because we're supposed to be having a day off.
Oh dear.
I might treat him to afternoon tea while we're there.
Now you're talking.
That'll soften the blow a little bit. I'll be in my element. I'll make him a nice cup of tea, or somebody else can make a nice cup of tea. I'm not good at the tea. But we will be launching those very soon. We'll get those over onto the website as well.
So folks, keep on checking back to Kerrie's website, because obviously you're updating it all the time, things that you're bringing on, new retreats, perhaps new workshops, new subscriptions possibly, new patterns for sure. So when can we see you on TV next, Kerrie?
Next Tuesday. So I'm on Sewing Street next Tuesday at 10 and 12 with some new projects. One of the projects actually is the folder that I showed you a little bit earlier. So if you've treated yourself to the kit, you can join us on there and see the tutorial for that particular project.
So is that kit different? Is the kit that you're showing?
Their kits are different,
right.
They're different fabrics.
Good, yeah.
So we try and keep those ones exclusive to Sewing Street when we go on, but put other options available over on the website as well.
Good idea. Right, so let's have a look on if there's any questions on Facebook. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm terrible looking at comments on Facebook. Maddie says she couldn't check out, but I think you just need to follow the normal procedure. Promo code is Loveliness. Put that in your promo code.
You are very lovely, Liz. You are very lovely. I thoroughly enjoyed our evening and chat yesterday, and it's been lovely to be invited to join you as well.
Oh, you've shown us some wonderful things, Kerrie, and do you know what? If nothing else, you've been very inspiring, and because, you know, I hope you don't mind me saying this, not meant to be patronising, but you are a young lady. I'm not going to ask your age, but it's fantastic to meet a younger stitcher, because obviously sometimes it's dominated by us old cronies up the other end of the
I love that you called me young. I felt really old tonight. Let me tell you a very quick.
Sorry.
I was chatting to my daughter and her boyfriend earlier, and I mentioned the yellow pages, and they both looked at me and said, "What?" And I thought, what part of that conversation did you not understand? And they said, "What's yellow pages?" I was like, oh gosh, I feel so old. How do you not know what yellow pages is?
It's a funny thing, because it's a couple of days ago when we were coming back from being away in the motorhome, I was wanting to find something local to my area, and I had the vision of the yellow pages in my head. Isn't that strange? It was a bit spooky, actually. And I'm thinking, oh no, I've got the internet now. Let's move on. Let's use technology.
So you've made my night. I'm going to tell my daughter you called me young. That's made my night.
Oh, good. I'm pleased about that, because I didn't want it to sound patronising, or people are laughing. That's lovely. Shirley says, thank you, ladies, for a wonderful, informative evening. You are both inspirational. Thank you very much, Shirley. Kath says, the young and talented Kerrie.
Oh, how lovely.
Yeah, she's my proofread. I do pay her to say things. I was going to say.
I like your. I believe my proofreader's here this evening. I wonder if she thinks I'm young and talented. I won't tell you what she calls me when I'm messaging super early in the morning for a quick proofread.
That's the thing, isn't it?
She never does it though. She's always straight onto there.
It's a funny thing, because if it's in your head, you've got to say it. And then I was talking to my admin, and I suppose we should go in and say. But anyway, I was talking to my admin last night, and I have to have a list. So we have a Thursday night chat in our online goal group every week. So we have a chat every Thursday, and I always have to have a list, otherwise I forget what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I made the list out, and I always check with the girls, you know, the ladies in the admin, and I said, right, is that everything? Is that everything I need to do? This, that, and the other. And then they were starting to add to it, as they do. Oh, I forgot about that. Okay, I'll put that in. And then I said, oh my goodness, man, I'm going to forget this. So you know, you on WhatsApp, you can star things. Yeah. And then the other week I'd starred it, so I knew I had the list. But when I came to do the live, I couldn't remember how to look at the starred things.
Well, I was just going to say, I know I've starred lots of things. No idea how I retrieve that information.
It seems like a great idea. No idea what I'm doing. So one of the other guys, Jackie, she recopied the list for me and said, like, just click on that, you'll be fine. As long as we don't say anything else, that list is going to be there. And sometimes I'll take a photo of it, because I'm so desperate I'm not going to lose it. So, every which way. Anyway, there we are. So let's just have a quick look and see if anybody is telling us anything absolutely super. Leslie says, lovely evening, great to have two inspirational ladies in one room.
Oh, Leslie, I love Leslie.
Yes, well, we obviously paid her enough as well. Lorraine says, what is the Q code? The Q code is the little, it looks a bit weird, doesn't it? The square with all the dots and dashes in.
So a QR code, simply, if I just, where's my little pattern on? Craig's tidied up super fast. So your QR code that comes on the bottom of your pattern, you just simply hover your phone over this, and this will take you straight to YouTube to the pre-recorded tutorial. If you don't have a smartphone and it won't allow you to do it, we've put the link there as well, so you can just type that into your search engine, and that will take you to the same place as well.
Oh, that's super. Well, Lorraine, there we are. Try a bit of technology. See if your phone will pick up that QR code. Karen says, thank you. Great evening. Linda says, great evening. Thank you both. Lots of thanks from people. Somebody else said, yes, they remembered Yellow Pages. And also, when we were talking about cassette players and recording off the radio, there was quite a few comments from people saying they remember doing the same. Phew, that makes me feel better.
You dare not nip to the toilet for a moment or two back in those days. You couldn't pause or rewind anything.
No, it was quite a frantic hour. Was it an hour? I suppose it was. It was quite frantic because you would stop before the chat, because you didn't want him chatting. You didn't cut him out completely. Yes, and like if your sister
But
says
that's so
something.
fun. I really miss the option. I'm really old school though. I love all things like that. Well, you know, I love my vinyl records and things, and as well as sewing with my mom. You know, we love to go shopping for vinyl records. So I think I was born in the wrong era, to be honest. I love all of those things. But tonight, the whole Yellow Pages thing has surprised me.
Yeah, isn't it? Isn't it strange how these things come into your head and you've no idea how that's happened? Like me.
And funnily enough, I mean, we wouldn't have used that. So I don't know what the relevance was in my story, but I felt the need to talk about it this evening anyway.
Oh, but it makes everything feel normal, doesn't it? Which, of course, you know, it is in our world. It still is. Well, thank you very much, Kerrie. It's been a wonderful hour, a little bit over an hour, and I'm sure people won't mind. It's been super, and please, everybody, go to Kerrie's website, support Kerrie, because she had a bit of an unfortunate incident a few weeks back, and that's how we met. I'm not going to go into it because Kerrie's talked about it on her Facebook page. So go and find YouTube, go and find Facebook. Are you on Instagram as well, Kerrie?
We're on Instagram.
Yeah,
we're on Instagram.
So all of the boxes, go and find Kerrie, Living in Loveliness, and go and support her. It'd be absolutely super. And any of you Living in Loveliness fans of Kerrie, you can always come and follow me as well. I don't mind. I take anybody. I'm not fussy. And it'd be wonderful to see you and to share you with Kerrie too. So we're going to say goodbye now, Kerrie. If you could stay where you are on Zoom, and I'll give you a private goodbye if that's okay with you.
That sounds very exciting.
Well, it's better than abrupt end and everybody's gone home.
Everybody's gone and you just sat looking.
It's weird.
Thank you so much for having me this evening. And you know, it was a particularly difficult week a few weeks ago.
Yes.
So it was just so very kind of you to find us online and to invite us along. And it's just been wonderful getting to know you. I know a lot of our lovely ladies talk very highly about you. You know, they're part of your Gold member group. So it's been wonderful to spend some time with you this evening.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's very lovely, kind words. Thank you. But no, it's a real treat for me to meet you and share what you do with all of my lot, and likewise, I'm sure. And it's good to share, and it's good to do these collaborations where, you know, you don't have to worry about being competitive or anything like that. It's just about having a fun time and getting to know each other. And maybe when I come to the NEC, are you going to be at the Festival of Quilts? I'm sure you must be. Yeah. I'll come and say hello. I'll wear the same top. And then you can recognise me.
That's it. We'll have a little brooch. We'll send you a nice little kit, and then we can recognise you from your little brooch.
Yes. Oh dear me. Well, yes. So I'm going to leave you with the picture of our lovely Kerrie, and thank you so much everybody for joining in. For those on the website, on YouTube and Facebook as well, I'll bid you good night. Have a lovely rest of your evening. Take care. Have a great weekend. Bye everybody. Bye Kerrie.
Bye.